Hi, welcome to Paula's Kitchen. Today we're honored to have Paula, the head chef. Today we're going to make her Nonna's homemade sauce, spaghetti sauce, also known as Sunday gravy. And today we'll let Paula take over and show you where she's going to start.
Okay, so first thing you want to do is make sure your hands are clean. We're going to be chopping onion, so we want to make sure our hands are clean. And I just like to slice the onion a little on the thicker side because as it cooks, it kind of dissolves into the spaghetti sauce. You definitely want to watch your fingers. So next, this is going to go into our pot. We are going to add olive oil to coat the bottom so that when we heat the onion, it becomes nice and translucent. And we're also going to be adding some basil with the olive oil and the onion, and that helps it to get a really good flavor. Okay, so the next step is you're going to take a whole bunch of basil leaves, wash them and pat them dry, and then just kind of clip them off with your hands, add them to the pot, grab your trusted wooden spoon, and just kind of break up the onion, move it around in the pot with the onion and the olive oil and the basil. And like I said, we're going to cook this until it becomes nice and soft and translucent. Once that happens, then we're going to add the cans of tomato puree and then the desired amount of water depending on how thick you want your sauce to be. Now today, I'm not only making a meat sauce, but I'm also making a vegetarian sauce for my vegetarian friends out there. And you want to make sure when you're cooking anything vegetarian in a meat kitchen that you keep your utensils separate. So for the vegetarian sauce, we're going to make sure that we have another wooden spoon to basically do the same thing in this pot right here and get our onions all sauteed and translucent so that we can add our tomatoes in this pot as well. Okay, so for Nonna's traditional Sunday gravy, we add some lengths of spicy sausage, Italian sausage, and about a half a pound of ground meat into our pot with our onions and our basil so that this can also brown and cook a little bit prior to putting in our tomatoes. Again, because we're cooking two various dishes here, one meat sauce and one vegetarian sauce, you want to make sure that you cleanse your hands and you don't contaminate your utensils by adding the utensil you're using for your meat sauce into your vegetarian sauce. We're going to let this saute and cook up, and soon we'll be ready to add the cans of tomatoes to each pot. Okay, so now that we've touched all the meat products, we want to make sure we cleanse our hands real good before we stir the sauce, the vegetarian sauce, so we don't contaminate that spatula. So this is the vegetarian, and this is basically what your onions and basil should look like. Nice and caramelized, translucent, and now we can add our tomatoes. Doesn't really matter what brand you buy. Some brands are going to be a lot less thick than others. I like to take it off of the pot. Guess that one didn't open. I like to take it off the pot and add the tomatoes. The pot off the burner and add the tomatoes. And then we'll add a little bit of water, because what you want to do is you want to be able to get the rest of the tomato that's still in the can and add it to your pot. Add a little bit of water to the can. And this is kind of messy, so you want to kind of do it over the sink. And you're just going to swirl the water back and forth into the cans so that we get all the rest of that thick tomato sauce without wasting a drop. And sometimes you might even need to grab your spoon. This is the vegetarian spoon, and just kind of swirl it around the pot a little bit, around the can, so you get all that tomato sauce out, and your can basically looks like that. And we've used 4 cans of tomatoes. And like I said, it really doesn't matter what brand you buy, but some brands are thicker than others. The Hunt's is quite thick, so you want to make sure that you get all of the tomato out of the can prior to adding it back into the pot. Okay, so now we're going to add that water to the pot. And as you can see, the sauce is pretty thick. And that's how Grandma Nonna used to make it for us. It was a very, very thick sauce, and it coated the spoon. But like I said, you can add as much or as little water depending on how thick you want it. You also want to remember that as the pasta sauce cooks, it will thicken on its own. And if you put a lid on it, it will get a little bit more watery. Now, I don't really measure my sauce, my salt that goes into my sauce. I just kind of eyeball it. This is sea salt, so you tend to use a little bit more of it than you would a traditional iodized salt. And we're going to give it a stir, bring it to a boil, and then we're going to turn it down and let it simmer for anywhere from 3 to 5 hours, again, depending on the richness and the consistency of what your desire is of this spaghetti sauce, or as Nonna would call it, Sunday gravy. Okay, so now that all of your ingredients are in your pot, you want to make sure that you stir your sauce about once an hour, just to make sure that it doesn't stick to the bottom of the pot. I like to keep mine covered. And then we also have the meat version. That was the vegetarian version. Again, you want to just make sure you stir it about once an hour. Let it cook for about 3 to 5 hours, and you'll be ready to serve it on your choice of pasta.